Meghan is livid. Harry has met someone who is his age, with whom he is in love, and who is in love with him. And Meghan found out about it after she discovered texts on Harry's phone.
They really hate each other now, and they cannot hide it anymore.
She was the villain.
How was she dangerous?
Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image.
Harry was not in love with Meghan Markle.
He was madly in love. The veil is now lifting.
These are the two photos of the women that people are speculating that could be the woman for Harry.
Meghan's fury is uncontrollable when she stumbles upon a revelation that shakes her to her core. Harry, long known for his unpredictable escapades, has actually found someone his own age who has captured his heart, and, just as deeply, this person is equally taken with him. Meghan's discovery wasn't through gossip or rumors, but through the undeniable proof tucked away in Harry's phone text messages that left no room for doubt. Now, who exactly is this person? I'll keep it vague because of legal reasons, but let's just say she's close by, possibly in the Montecito area or its surrounding neighborhoods. There's been no public sighting of them together yet, which only adds fuel to the rumor mill. People wonder, has Harry finally grown up? Is he building more than just a reputation? Maybe now, instead of his usual chaotic solo acts, there's someone helping him stand firm, someone transforming his once reckless freedom into something more stable and real. It's hard not to imagine this as a step forward, a turning point, even if it's done quietly, behind closed doors. Their relationship, whatever you want to call it, has spanned nearly 7 years, with moments of reunion and separation. But there's a crucial detail that throws everything into sharp relief. Harry himself has openly spoken about this relationship, not once, but twice, under oath during legal battles with the press. What's striking is how he framed it, not as some vague philosophical principle or ideological stance, but very personally, around the woman he loved. He laid the blame squarely on the media, accusing them of poisoning the very connection that brought him genuine happiness. And the picture he painted was far from glossy. It was dark, filled with anxiety and mistrust. Imagine feeling like you're constantly being watched, paranoid that nobody around you can be trusted. Evidence of this torment came in the form of a tracking device found on her car, secret arguments between them leaked to the press, and the crushing blow of a headline celebrating their breakup like it was a public victory.
I knew Meghan for a bit before she met Harry. Did exactly the same to me, She did that to many people that she knew, that she'd either worked with or was friends with or whatever. It just seems to me she's what I would call a ruthless social climber, who just when people are no longer appropriate parts of her circle, they have to be expunged quickly so she can move on up the ladder.
Absolutely.
Do you think your sister, Meghan Markle, has ruined Prince Harry?
The answer is yes. I mean, every single interview, every single picture, every place they go, Meghan grabs him. Meghan controls him. Meghan tells him no. Meghan stands in front of him. She controls every single situation like she is the star. And she's turned Prince Harry into a man of non-substance, for her own well-being.
According to him, this toxic atmosphere didn't just destroy their bond, it ate away at his friendships too, leaving him isolated and wounded in the aftermath. He grew increasingly wary, suspicious even, of everyone close to him, people he once trusted without question. This was the year everything came crashing down again. When he spoke to the Daily Mail, he described what happened to that romance as a nightmare. Those were his exact words, not mine. But it gets even deeper. In his own memoir, he took a step further than any of us expected, revealing something no one dared to voice before. He practically admitted that he couldn't bring himself to pull Chelsea into this relentless whirlwind of public life. He feared the press would not just chase her, they would exhaust her, chase her into the ground. Imagine living under that kind of pressure, where every move you make becomes a headline, where privacy feels like a distant dream. If he had had any say, any real choice at all, he said, he never would have wanted this life for either of them. Read that again. This wasn't just regret. This was a confession from a man trapped in a machine too powerful to escape alone. He openly said that if someone had simply allowed him, he would have walked away from the entire royal circus, left it all behind, and protected the girl he loved instead. But the system didn't give him that chance. Instead, it stole her from him.
The girl, woman, girlfriend, friend, however you want to put it, and I'm putting it like this for legal reasons, resides, and I'm not going to say if it's actually in Montecito or near Montecito, but it's in the environs. People have seen them together. Oh dear, my goodness, Harry's growing. Is it a backbone? Or, my goodness, maybe he's not going to be able to juggle those balls outside of windows anymore, because maybe they're going to be attached instead of detached. That would be progress, wouldn't it?
Tearing apart what might have been. And here's where the story gets even more heartbreaking. Chelsea wasn't the only one who bolted from that unforgiving spotlight. The girlfriend that followed her left for exactly the same reason. She took one hard look at the public frenzy, the endless scrutiny, and vanished. Both women were free spirits, both deeply in love with him, yet both looked at the royal life and decided it was a cage they didn't want to live in. They chose their freedom over the fairy tale. And here's the twist that most fairy tale enthusiasts want to gloss over or forget entirely. Chelsea did not disappear quietly into the shadows, nursing a wounded heart. No, she actually showed up. In 2018, she was right there, sitting in the chapel, watching as Harry took Meghan's hand. Chelsea sat, calm and composed, even smiling for the cameras alongside the rest of the crowd, a silent witness to the day he chose to fully embrace the very circus he once vowed to shield her from. There, she was the one who got away, seated so close to the altar, observing the man she once loved pledge his life to another, and
yeah, he loved her a lot, and she really loved him, and they had great fun together. And he liked it because she wasn't worried about the royal family. That wasn't a big deal for her. She just fitted in very easily.
Totally miserable, totally allowing his negative past to take over him, all of these court battles, and just a great sense of sadness, actually, and anger connected to him.
The irony? The woman he vowed to protect by running from this life became the one who ultimately made him unhappy, while the woman who brought him joy sat quietly in that pew, watching it all unfold. Imagine trying to share a story so vivid, so honestly raw, that when you present it, it's instantly tossed aside because it's just too bold, too obvious. That's exactly what happened. They wrapped it up, tried to package it neatly, but the powers that be sent it right back for being too on the nose, too close to the truth. Now, consider the man at the center of this saga. He thought he could escape the circus that surrounded his life, but fate had other plans. Instead of slipping away quietly, he ended up marrying the ringmaster herself. That's right, he didn't break free. He got pulled deeper in, moving the entire spectacle right across the country to California. While Chelsea hurriedly distanced herself from the relentless glare of cameras and public scrutiny, Meghan took a very different route. She arrived with a full Netflix production crew in tow, amplifying the spotlight rather than dodging it.
Nothing can actually get through to him to be happy now. He just feels it. It's everything's wrong. So he started having affairs with all sorts of other girls, and she got very upset, and he didn't go and see her for a long time. So she went off and left him. Now that's his fault, 100% his fault.
You just couldn't invent a more jaw-dropping twist if you stayed up all night plotting the perfect punchline. It's almost like a scene from a dark comedy, scripted but somehow real. Now, fast forward to a night that everyone remembers, Paris Fashion Week last autumn. Picture Meghan, far from home, attending the prestigious Balenciaga show. She decides to share a simple moment on Instagram, a short clip from the backseat of a car, nighttime swirling around her, the sparkling Parisian city lights gliding by the window. And there she is, relaxed, nonchalantly propping her high heels up on the seat, casually filming her shoes as the car cruises along. Simple, easy. That's what makes the scene electric. Here's the twist that made this innocent clip explode everywhere like fireworks on Bastille Day. The car glided along the Seine, less than a mile away from the exact spot where tragedy once struck the very underpass where Harry's mother, Princess Diana, lost her life in a tragic car accident. At night,
Prince Harry is heartbroken all over again. Now, of course, this is something that he is never going to admit publicly, especially as his marriage to Meghan Markle crumbles.
How many tears left, Harry? How many? Oh. I think we'd better get a bottle of champagne to sort of get everybody calm.
While photographers still chased shadows and headlines, in a city heavy with memory and sorrow, Diana's daughter-in-law chose to capture a stylish shoe showcase right on the riverbank next to that infamous tunnel. It was the kind of move that left people stunned and buzzing. "You can't make this up," they said. But others argued Meghan must have been unaware of just how close she was, that she didn't realize the weight of that location on that particular stretch in Paris. So what's the truth? You decide. Either she genuinely had no idea where she was, unaware in the one city in the world seared into her husband's family history, or she knew exactly where she was and made the choice anyway. There's no middle ground here, no mysterious third option. It's a moment loaded with meaning, a quiet but powerful statement that speaks volumes in silence.
The simmering tension between the duplicitous Duke and his facelift-enhanced wife. Here's the red carpet arrival.
Hey, Harry, what are you up to? This is her in the car videoing herself with her legs up as she went past the tunnel in which Diana Spencer was so tragically killed in Paris.
The stakes? Monumental. The implications? Endless. And the story? Still unfolding. Neither of those choices made any sense. Even the loyal fans who usually jumped to her defense were left completely speechless, labeling this move as utterly reckless beyond comprehension. One well-known royal analyst just sat there slack-jawed and dumbfounded, admitting he had no clue what was running through her mind, and the setting made it even stranger. This wasn't a moment of privacy or reflection, something private or solemn. No, she was right in the thick of it, front and center at Fashion Week, basking in the spotlight, front row at some of the biggest runway shows, fully immersed in that influencer lifestyle she's famous for. She was radiant, thriving, seemingly oblivious to the optics or the timing. But here's the thing, out of all the places she could have chosen, she picked exactly the stretch along the river where cameras swarm and curiosity peaks, casually kicking back with her feet up and hitting record on her phone. The sheer tone deafness of the whole scene is almost shockingly generous a gift to those analyzing it. Now, why does this hit so hard? Because we're talking about a man who, just a couple of years ago,
This is gross and grim and deranged on every level.
Well, how about having some thought towards your husband's feelings when you're in the same city his mom died in, running around, having a joyride in Paris near where she lost her life?
Meghan is doing her own thing. Harry, go whatever with you. I'm doing what I want to do.
Openly shared how a wild paparazzi pursuit through New York streets left him genuinely terrified. And that fear wasn't just some passing feeling, it was deep, raw trauma. The image of his mother, a car, flashing cameras, and the chaos in the dark haunted him and still does. It was a memory he spoke about openly, a fear he admitted gripped him in his heart. And what do we see now? His wife, heels kicked up, comfortably filming herself inside a car near the River Seine, posting that footage for all her fans to see. The audacity of it is hard to overlook. You don't need an official statement from their home in Montecito to guess how that moment played out behind closed doors. Want a real barometer for how a relationship is holding up? Skip the official lines, the press releases. Instead, look where the calendars don't overlap. Because this year, their lives read like two separate diaries, barely crossing paths. Take May as an example. Meghan jet-setted off to Geneva all on her own, a major solo event, grabbing her own spotlight, soaking in the applause without Harry anywhere in sight, miles and miles away, out of the picture. Just days before that, Meghan hopped on a plane to Chicago, flying solo once again. No Harry, no children, just Meghan embracing her independence all the way across the country. And this isn't some isolated incident. In fact,
especially when he's on the BBC saying that it's not safe enough for my family in the UK, but it's safe enough for Meghan to be alone in Paris, literally engaging with the paparazzi you say killed your mother.
Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Scamalot, she has taken her scams abroad.
She wants to showcase that image to the world that she is the one who's the boss, but she's not really the boss.
She's carved out an entire social calendar for herself, filled with glamorous events and meaningful appearances, all on her own terms. Picture this. She attends a museum gala solo, effortlessly commanding the room. Then, at a children's hospital gala, she dazzles in a stunning dress she pulled from her wardrobe archives, bringing a sense of nostalgia wrapped in grace. Next, she's off to a pledge dinner, a star-studded red carpet event, and a heartfelt tribute night in honor of a close friend, Tyler Perry. Throughout these appearances, there's a pattern that stands out. The chair where Harry should be sitting remains noticeably empty. It's striking, really, because Meghan's social life seems more vibrant and full than many people half her age, yet she's navigating it all completely on her own. According to one tabloid tally, Harry was spotted at her side for fewer than 40 days last year. Take that with a grain of salt. Tabloids love to exaggerate, but it still paints a clear picture. In addition, rumors have swirled that Meghan floated the idea of a vow renewal ceremony. Now, that's a telling detail, because couples typically only consider renewing vows when the original promises feel distant, or when there's a desire to repair unseen cracks. But the situation isn't one-sided. Harry himself has been repeatedly traveling back to Britain without Meghan. Same story this month as last, and the one before that. What's more, he refuses to stay in the royal residences while he's there. Meghan never accompanies him on these trips. Officially, it's all chalked up to security disagreements, and on the surface, that should be enough. But isn't it curious that the very reason keeping this devoted husband from reuniting with his family is also the exact thing that enables him to jet off across the ocean alone? It's a puzzle wrapped in layers of unexplained choices and quiet tensions.
She tries to direct and show people what to do because she's a controller. And that's what we see in her body language. That is her showing control because she is control obsessed.
When you start to see a marriage break down the way Harry and Meghan's marriage has clearly broken down, you start to speculate on what could be going on. And it would make sense.
And I don't think Meghan is happy at all. How could she be? I mean, look, the girl's whole has ever is crumbled. Harry's talking about going back. How does Meghan feel about that? I heard that she wants to go back. No, she don't. No, she doesn't. I mean, look, this girl is trying to do everything she can to have an independent life with a career in Hollywood. That's what she's going after. That's what she wants.
Meanwhile, Meghan continues to live her vibrant, independent life on the other side of the world, and the distance between them grows ever more apparent. He drifts in and out of their lives, whenever the mood strikes him like a distant echo fading in and out, never quite consistent. And here's the real twist. He's openly declared, straight up, that he wants to bring Meghan and the kids over for visits. He talks about it as if it's a given, a plan about to happen. But somehow, despite all these words, the visits never come to life. It's almost like watching a man narrate the void their absence has left, while quietly hoping no one notices the wide gap between his intentions and his actions. No one sees the flights he never boards, the calls he never makes, only the empty promises hanging in the air, waiting to be filled. And get this whole tangled web didn't even start with a secret romance. 2 years ago, the couple quietly divided their worlds like a clean break,
We're gonna have this whiny little wanker back in the United Kingdom, back demanding security paid for by us. No, honestly, part of me thinks the best possible punishment for the Duke of Delusion, after accusing the British royal family of being racist, after making the late Queen Elizabeth II's dying days a misery, after putting Prince Philip through God knows what on his deathbed, part of me thinks the best punishment for him is to actually have to live in perpetuity with one of the worst women to ever exist.
This is the natural progression for someone who has gone about things the way Harry and Meghan have. I mean, you look at how they wanted to leave the UK because of racism, because of not being protected. Oh, let's go over now to America and get, all these opportunities off of our royal titles. And then now America is not warming to them anymore. Oh, okay, let's leave America. People don't like it. Let's go down back to the UK. Well, newsflash, the people in the United Kingdom still don't like you. Like, why would you even go back to the UK?
Almost surgical in nature, separate Instagram accounts popped up. Her Netflix projects flourished on one side, alongside her jam brand, while on the other side, his Invictus Foundation, his polo events, carried on without a hitch. Everyone around them called it a professional separation. Polite, mature, almost serene. But let's be honest, no one finalizes something as serious as a business divorce with someone you're still supposedly head over heels for. Their split didn't bloom from betrayal or scandal. It was born from something far more calculated, a spreadsheet. That's right. The beginning of this divide was mapped out in cold, deliberate numbers and logistics, rather than heated words or passionate confrontations. Now, here's the part the polite crowd won't say out loud. A lot of serious voices are now painting a very bleak picture of this man. One of the most prominent figures in American television sat on air not long ago and called Meghan a malignant narcissist, those exact words without hesitation or regret, setting off shockwaves. And she's far from alone in this. Harry's own biographers have described her as the most bitter and unyielding woman they've ever encountered, a reputation that sticks like glue. Even Harry's uncle, according to multiple sources, dismissed her as a straightforward opportunist.
We all know that that's how Meghan is. We've seen it from the very beginning. So to even say that you don't do that when we clearly can see that you have done it, you continue to do it, it just makes you out to be a liar. We know what's going to happen. I don't know how Harry is going to live part-time in the UK. It's a mess. It's a mess. And I just really feel sorry for the real royals, Catherine and William, because now they are going to have to deal with, the influx of the things that Harry's going to be doing now in their playground. This is not going to be good for the real royals. Okay, this is a disaster for them. I just don't see how they think they're going to have another shot in the UK, because things have not changed for them. They have gotten worse for them in the UK. How can you want to come back?
Some have gone even deeper, claiming that she subtly but powerfully rewired Harry from the inside out, changing him in ways no one saw coming and nobody could easily undo. Beneath every public gesture and every carefully crafted move, those reading between the lines saw a transformation that left a permanent mark. Here's a closer look at the story behind Prince Harry's transformation, a tale that's both revealing and a little heartbreaking. Many people notice how different things are now, how this once carefree royal didn't just marry a partner, he seemed to hire a boss. Picture this, a grown man, a prince, who found himself in a position where he had to publicly refute rumors that his own wife talked over him during meetings he once led. Pause for a moment and think about how unusual that is. No one rushes to deny something unless deep down, there's some uncomfortable truth behind it. That denial itself says volumes, whispering to the world exactly what many had begun to suspect. Then, there's the undeniable sense of homesickness that Harry can no longer conceal. Last year, he publicly shared his feelings by writing openly about his love and loyalty for Britain, the country he once proudly served, heart and soul. Royal commentators and watchers, even those who often criticize him, couldn't help but notice the melancholy tone in that message. It echoed like a cry from a soul weighed down by regret and longing.
You know, Harry and Meghan both feel that America is kind of cooling on them and that it's difficult. And they want to be liked in the UK now. And that's where they're focusing, you know, a kind of a charm offensive. And I think, and bizarre as it was, as you said, there's a kind of sense of whiplash. But I think this is Harry wanting to be liked, and he's trying to be appealing again to ordinary people who have, you know, not enjoyed being called racist and not enjoyed the things he said about his family.
You can't bring the late Queen Elizabeth II back and allow her to live her last couple of years in peace. Likewise, Prince Philip. However, there is a wider plan at play, and that is still to unveil Archie and Lily on UK soil during the Invictus Games next year.
Some observers described him as desperately lonely, isolated across the ocean in California, a prince far from the life and people he knew. Others painted a picture of a man perpetually waiting by the phone, hoping for a call from his brother, an invitation to return home. Even his oldest friends admit they barely recognize who he's become. The lively, warm-hearted, fun-loving Harry, the one admired and adored by many for years now, seems replaced by someone quieter, more guarded, always scanning the room before speaking up. Those who have known him for decades remark that the vibrant spark, that unmistakable light they once saw in his eyes, simply isn't there anymore. No matter how you interpret the dynamics of his marriage or choices, it's clear that something profound has shifted inside him, something that feels like it's been switched off. And when a person dims their inner light like that, it often means their gaze has already started drifting toward the exit. This is a prince who traded his family, his history, and a part of himself for a new life, one filled with both opportunity and enormous personal cost. That journey is far from over, but the toll it's taken is visible to anyone willing to look closely.
Meghan had found some text messages on Harry's phone that confirmed this information.
The veil is lifting in terms of Harry's feelings about Meghan.
Harry has woken up and smelled the roses. And he's not happy because it's not roses he's smelling. He's smelling something bad. Poop.
Imagine giving up everything you've ever known, your home, your family, the only person you truly loved, just to be tied to a woman who, according to half the world, controls not only your phone but also every word you say. If that's the kind of fairy tale you want, then it's yours to keep. But this whole story, it's far from any kind of romance or fantasy most might hope for. Which brings us back, at last, to this week's latest whisper swirling around Harry's life. Now, maybe you'll understand why it landed with such a thud instead of a splash. The rumor making the rounds on social media and gossip columns is this: Meghan supposedly rifled through Harry's phone and stumbled upon messages that revealed something unexpected. There's another woman, roughly Harry's age, who's apparently the real reason he's been looking so upbeat and excited about returning home. The internet quickly jumped on this and even threw out a name, pegging this mystery woman as a media executive based purely on a single photo snapped at a party. Not a single solid piece of evidence supports this claim, and it would be unfair to drag an innocent bystander into this maelstrom of speculation. So,
we always talk about how Meghan's like, they took my voice. Well, she's taking Harry's. She's taking his voice. She's taking, his freedoms away from him to do what he wants to do.
I think that's most likely the neatest, cleanest, and most cost-effective way, let's put it that way, of resolving a problem. Because I know people would like to have a massive ruling that the king has decided in council that he's stripping Harry of his titles and the children are out of the line of succession. That's pie in the sky. That's not how things work on a legal level or a governmental level.
We'll leave that woman unscathed. But here's the kicker. The whole idea that Harry's heart or his attention is somewhere else now isn't something people are desperate to believe. After digesting everything that's been unfolded, the public's reaction brings an unexpected twist. You'd think news about Harry secretly seeing someone else would have the internet buzzing with intrigue or sympathy, but no, quite the opposite happened. The comment with the most likes under this story was from a woman bluntly asking, "Who on earth would want Harry anyway?" Not even Meghan, she said. Thousands of people agreed with her. Another comment, also supported by thousands, swore that if Harry were the last man alive, they wouldn't even consider crossing his path. What does this reveal? It's a startling sign of how dramatically the public's view of this fairy tale has crumbled from a story about star-crossed lovers to one where even the idea of Harry as a romantic prospect is met with disbelief or indifference. In a way, it's a reminder that behind the headlines and whispers, the photo ops and rumors, the truth has become so tangled it's almost impossible to separate fact from fiction. And sometimes, the most viral stories aren't the ones filled with glamour and mystery, but the ones that show us how deeply a narrative can unravel before our eyes.
Reality is that it's probably lasted longer than some of the critics would have believed it to have lasted, right? If there's still, look, nobody wants the marriage to go pop, does it? Nobody wants it, with the exception probably of Dan Wood, right? Nobody wants it, right? Nobody wants it to go pop. So, but if it does last another 3 or 4 years, it'd be a miracle. Because the other problem is, if it goes pop, the kids are going to stay in America. He's going to be living in a terrace somewhere in Preston, right? You know, when's he going to see her? I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is completely ridiculous. Now,
the scene is almost surreal now, as a wave of laughter ripples through the crowd watching from the sidelines. It's that unmistakable sound of satisfaction, like the universe is quietly delivering a well-earned lesson in poetic justice. After all, this is the very woman who once made headlines by trading up from her first husband all the way to royalty, securing a prince in the process. The tables have turned so dramatically, it's almost cinematic, the proverbial shoes switching feet, and this time, the pressure is on her. For nearly 9 long years, many have quietly held their breath and waited for this moment, the day when fortune or karma would finally shift, unraveling the carefully woven tale that had captivated so many. And now, that day is here. No one's about to let it slip away without making the most of it. Once, this story was billed as a modern-day romance for the ages, a fairy tale come to life. But now, the public's reaction has shifted from awe to outrage, humor, and disbelief, especially at whispers of a possible affair linked to the man in question. People are no longer amazed, they're bewildered, wondering what the other woman could possibly be thinking, stuck in the middle of all this mess.
Harry's never coming back to the UK. He has no interest in it, to live. Never coming back to the UK, loves his life in California. He's here forever. And that has completely changed, hasn't it? Just turned around. Quite quietly, while we've all been looking at other things, their eyes are on Europe again and the UK.
The glossy sheen of glamour and fairy tale mystique has completely faded away, replaced by a sharp and bitter reality. So, where does all this lead us? For years, the narrative was clear and consistent. Meghan was the power player, the one who called the shots, while Harry was seen as the devoted follower, happily carrying her bags and basking in her shadow on the royal stage. But the story flipped dramatically this week for the very first time. Suddenly, Harry is the one sitting on a secret. He has become the subject of hushed conversations and speculation. He carries a deep sense of homesickness and regret, longing for the country he once claimed he'd never call home again. He's flying back there, while Meghan is busy building a new life 3,000 miles away, crafting a world that seems to have less and less space for him. At this point, the question of whether or not there's another woman barely even matters. You don't need to know all the details to see the broader picture unfolding: a man who lost the woman he loved to the whirlwind of fame, only to give away everything else he had left for the woman who built him up, but perhaps now lets him fall. The story is far from over, but the spotlight has shifted, and it's shining on Harry in a way we never expected. Behind every headline and every whispered rumor, there lies a story far more complex than meets the eye. Here stands a man, we'll call him Harry, who now can't help but glance over his shoulder, haunted by the life he left behind. This isn't just a marriage facing some tough times or a fleeting phase of uncertainty. No, this is the aftermath of a choice made long ago, a decision that only now, years later, is revealing its full weight. Picture it. A decade ago, Harry smiled and signed away an entire chapter of his life, sealing it with a shiny contract and the promises of a new future. There was no sudden catastrophe that tore his old world apart. Instead, it was a deliberate walk away from everything familiar, from a life intertwined with love and history, in exchange for something dazzling but uncertain. Yet the true cost didn't fully register until much later, when the dust had settled and that picture-perfect facade started to crack at the edges. Sure, they'll deny it at first, as anyone caught in such a complicated web would. They always do. But as time moved on, the smiles they wore began to lose their sparkle, no longer in harmony with the fairy tale they once wanted us to believe. And then something shifts. The questions from the cameras stop being about whether love still exists and begin probing who might be filling those empty spaces once held tightly by their partner. When that moment arrives, it's a clear sign the story, as everyone hoped it wouldn't, has quietly ended. The truth only needs someone bold enough to speak it out loud. So where do you stand? Is Harry the one who lost his way in the chaos of a life far different from what he imagined? Or did he get exactly what he chose when he walked away, fully aware but unable to turn back? Both sides hold weight, and honestly, it's a delicate balance between judgment and empathy. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop your take in the comments below. Who do you think this really is? A victim? A willing architect of his fate? I read every single comment because your thoughts truly matter. If this story hooked you, don't forget to smash that like button. It helps more people discover these fascinating tales. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe because there's so much more coming your way this week. This narrative is far from over. The next chapter could hinge on just one slip, one bold confession, or a quiet decision made far away from the spotlight. Keep your focus on Montecito. Someone there is about to make a move that changes everything. We'll be back soon to unravel every twist and turn, so stay tuned. This journey is just getting started.